Yeah. You can have it back if you want. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Elyria City Council for Monday, April 19th, 2021 meeting. At this time, I'd like to take a moment of reflective silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Elyria City Council for Monday, April 19th, 2021.
There it is. Hello. Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Okay. Is this the way we do it?
Please remember to mute your mic.
Mute our mic. Okay.
Good evening again. Mr. Clerk, can I have roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Callahan.
Here.
Mr. Sira.
Here.
Mr. Oswald.
Here.
Mr. Baird.
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Tollett.
Here.
Mrs. Simmons.
Here.
Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Keys.
Here.
Mr. Jesse.
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
Here.
All present.
Public hearings.
There are none.
Can I get approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sira.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Remarks and reports from city officials. Mayor Whitfield.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, City Council. I know we have a full agenda tonight, so I won't be long. But first, I want to thank the residents for participating in last week's week of engagement. We had some good dialogue with folks and learned a lot of interesting opinions people have and ideas that people have, which was really good. I also want to acknowledge and thank Windstream for their donation of $30,000 to help our residents get computer training, and want to encourage our residents to take advantage of that opportunity by going to elyriacares.com or by calling into our office, and we'll direct them to get signed up as well. So we're going to have trainings all around town and just building up that list. Also, Pride and Service Day is coming up on May 15th. We were going to do a bike drive this week. As many of you know, I'm a bike advocate, but we're going to push that back to Pride Day when we're going to do the drive for the bicycles. And lastly, we've established an internal committee within the city, including engineering, community development, the street department, communications, to look at infrastructure projects to try to prepare for this, well, not only the infrastructure bill, but even the American Rescue Plan. So we're starting to put a list together of infrastructure projects to be able to present to you all here in the near future. So thank you.
Yeah, very good. Any questions for the mayor? No, thank you. Safety Service Director Brubaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to council, just two quick items. One, I emailed out to everybody earlier this week the First Energy fall tree trimming. Obviously, that's not going to be to the fall, but I had a call with First Energy today so they can enlighten us. If you look at the streets, you look at most of them are in the township area, up in the mall, Gall Avenue, those areas. I did invite him, as we do every year, to come to the August meeting to kind of share that in council, so you're aware of that project. And lastly, The one thing I did not want to talk about tonight is the infamous word snowfall. We have a potential of a little bit of snow coming Tuesday into Wednesday. I hope that we didn't put all our plows away. We'll be prepared one way or the other. If it's shovels on the front of trucks, that's what we'll do. So that's all I have for tonight.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Brubaker? Thank you, Mr. Brubaker. Finance Director Plesky.
Nothing at this time, Mr. President.
Law Director Deary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few things. We request an executive session later this evening. One to discuss imminent litigation, and the other, it's my understanding, if it's still on the table, Mayor and his administration will wish to discuss economic development. So I would request that. Also, with respect to item on the agenda number 1, the committee report, Attorney Jeffrey Smith is here with his clients. They have some information and also a tidy short presentation for Council Committee regarding the liquor license request for 824 Middle Avenue, and I would see the rest of my time for them tonight.
All right, Mr. Smith, if you could, please state your name and address for the record.
Baker. The microphone's not on.
I'll do it again. Jeffrey Smith, 124 Middle Avenue, Suite 800, Elyria, Ohio. And I'm here with my client, Jihad Zayed, and his address is...
Hi, guys. My name is Jihad Zayed. The address is 14027 Lakewood Heights Boulevard, Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you. We're here just to give a short presentation about the liquor permit. Mr. Zayed bought the property. He's not at all related to any of the prior owners, and I know that there's some bad history at this.
Excuse me, Mr. Smith, if you could you speak more into the microphone?
Sure.
Or, I know it's difficult with the masks, we understand. If you want to pull your mask down a smidge, if you feel comfortable with that, but if not, if you could speak more.
I'm happy to.
Okay, I think we're on there.
He has bought the property on Middle Avenue, wants to renovate it and put it into the style that he has done throughout the greater Cleveland area. We did send some pictures out. I do have a couple of pictures with me. We emailed them to Ms. Deary, and you know, he plans on running a very good ship. His hours are planned to be 6 to 12, well lit, and I guess he can add anything else that he wants to. I mean, he did buy this property outright. It's him and his father are here, and they're going to be here. I'm here. We're all here to answer any questions, and also down the road, if you have questions, for us to be here and answer those questions for you as well. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ziyad, if you'd like to come on up.
Sure.
Make your presentation.
Hello, everyone, again. Yes, we bought this property, and we are going to do some significant renovations to it, make sure that it's properly staffed, and it's an eyesore right now to the community. We're going to really beautify it and make sure we take care of it. It's a significant investment, and we like the area. We met some people in Elyria. My accountant is Jay Tokar. My attorney is Jeff Smith. So just passing by here through the years, I decided, you know what, this shouldn't look like this. We want to really make this city look better. And we see all the work that you guys did on Middle Avenue, and we want to be a part of that. And we have other businesses in Cleveland and surrounding suburbs of Cleveland, and we're moving in towards Lorain County. And we, you know, with your blessing, we'd like to continue this train and make it look really nice. And I don't know if Mr. Farkas is on with us or not. We've been working with him. We got full permits and plans, and it's basically that building is just going to be 3 walls, the original 3 walls. Everything else is going to be brand new, brand spanking new, brand new parking lot, lights, pumps, extension, fresh food service. It's going to be a real asset to the community, in my opinion.
Right, and they are passing photographs of his other gas stations that he owns and what he's done over and through there. So that is coming around as we speak and everything like that. So at this time, I'll open it up to the floor for any questions in regards to, they want to ask Mr. Ziad. Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Thank you for the beautification of the area. It was much needed. And this isn't personal against you or your family, but that gas station has a reputation, a very bad reputation that precedes it and precedes you. And so that is our hesitancy right there, because the young lady got killed there, and we need to be mindful of that we don't want the same type of activities going on. And there's also a school close by, which I think is a concern. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Tolet?
Through you, Mr. President, I would direct this at the chief, and I would request, could you give us your thoughts on this? I know we've come to you before with others.
I can tell you under the previous ownership, the ownership that was there when the young lady was killed, it was very difficult. We didn't get cooperation from the owners at all. Every time we went there and tried to go in a safer place, we were pretty much ignored. We do have a fear of that happening again. I don't know either one of these two gentlemen or what their other businesses are like. I can't tell you that they would be the same way. I don't know that. So I understand concerns from what it was before, because I'm concerned about that. There's always a potential that that could do it. But you know, your other businesses where are they in Cleveland?
Mr. Ziad, if you could just come up, that way it's just more informational that for the city council here to hear your comments.
Yes, throughout the east side and west side of Cleveland, we've taken over places that have had these concerns where loiterers and shootings. Thank God we've been in business. My dad's been here for 38 years. We've never had a shooting. We've never had any of that stuff happen. We don't let any loiterers stand outside. We install on our stations about 32-channel high-definition camera systems with IP and license plate cameras. You guys or the police department is always welcome to have access to them. You can put I would actually prefer if they were connected, the cameras outside, to the police department. You know, we're here to run a successful business and grow our name. Our name means a lot to us. So it's not just to make a quick buck. We want to grow our name. We want to be part of the community. This might be our first business. We don't want it to make our last business in Elyria. We want more businesses in Elyria. We want to employ the people of Elyria, and we are biased schools and our others. Mrs. Mitchell, you mentioned about the schools. We work together with the schools. We sponsor the high school teams. We have a food program. We're going to be an asset to the community. We're not going to be a detriment. And my phone, 24/7, I answer it. If anyone has an issue, you call me. There's somebody outside that loitering or whatever, you talk to me, and the police are more than welcome to come. Everyone's more than welcome to come. This is going to be a very good asset to the community.
Mr. Ziad, one of the questions that were asked, I believe, in the committee was the relationship to the previous owner. Do you have any relationship with the previous owner?
No.
Any other questions in regards to the committee? Mr. Sierra.
I guess this might be for Law Director Deary. How does a hearing like this work and what takes place?
Through you, Mr. President, it would be before a hearing officer with Liquor Control Commission. In all likelihood, it would be by Zoom. Even in pre-pandemic, a lot of times these would be done virtually. We, as a city, would need to basically put on our evidence for why we are opposing the liquor license application, and the applicant would put on their case for why they believe that they are entitled and deserving, eligible for liquor license. And the officer on behalf of the commission would make its decision. Bear in mind that liquor control also will do its own due diligence as far as is the property location-wise, as you mentioned, is it too close to a school? Is it in a dry area? All that sort of thing, and all those things are taken into consideration prior to the license being issued, independent of us raising those issues if they were relevant.
Sure. Mr. Farkas, I see that you have your hand raised up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So if you want to weigh in on some of the issues that were brought up, or what are your findings in the updating of this building, the facility itself?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The information that was submitted by the ownership has indicated a great improvement from what is there right now. They do plan on adding some aesthetic appeal in regards to shrubbery, some nice fencing, some nice decor, also with an inclusion of an addition. Just to reinforce what Mr. Smith and the ownership was saying, they will be making quite a great impact to that area, more so than what's already there. I am working right now with the review process, and we're very close to granting an issuance for this project. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Farkas regarding that? Sure. Ms. Simmons? Ms. Simmons is the representative in this ward.
Yes, through you, Mr. President. You can see from what has happened before while we have some resistance, as well as neighbors are asking what's going on. So you just need to be mindful that we're trying to be very careful that this does not happen again. You are going to make sure being close to a school district and seeing the past, that has a lot of weight on the residents.
I understand everyone's concerns from the previous ownership, and again, there's no relation, or I don't even know who the previous owner was a tenant. We bought it from the landowner, which, so I don't even know who was in there. Also, our group owns and operates 10 other liquor permits. We understand how this goes. We're business people, We're going to do the right things. We're going to check IDs, and trust me, if we're not going to have any issues.
Right. And it seems like you've represented as far as saying that you have an open door policy, the transparency and the openness to the Elyria Police Department, and being in compliance with that. And we want to see that area flourish again, like you're saying, and it seems like you're passionate in regards to turning this around. So, Ms. Davis, did you want to make a comment?
I do, through you, Mr. Chair. With the young gentleman saying that they're the owners of this property, and the other ones were tenants, that does make a difference, because you'll take more pride when you are owner versus a tenant. So I'm glad to see that you thought enough to buy into the property.
We have an extravagant amount of money going into this property. Did they pull up the pictures of other places? We spruce them up. We don't cut corners. It's going to look nice. It's going to look very nice. And I hope everyone, when we open, you guys all support us.
Right. And then one thing that I know, it's not so much with your building, but just with others, that we need to kind of work on is the improvement of the grounds. If there's going to be garbage and trash, you're going to maintain all that as far as that goes, because I know that people discard stuff, papers and everything like that.
We have trash pickup 4 times a week. Okay. We got an 8-yard container, and then we keep like 6 trash cans out front, change twice daily. Sure, but just the grounds in general. If there's any bottles and bags and things like that are laying on the grounds itself like that, it seems like we need to kind of. I'm just saying it here just based on some of the businesses that I see, that we want to make sure that we're representing that also, that aspect, because it just sends a message that you are sincere about moving forward with this. 100%.
Okay, Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. President. Beautiful pictures, beautiful building. I'm still just hesitant because you still have the same people in the area that are still going to flood to this building. Who knows how that's going to react in, when they come and buy liquor and alcohol or do drug deals or whatever. That's been a rough area over there, and I'm sure the chief could tell you about what they're trying to deal with over there. That's the part that I'm worried about, not your company. It's the other people that are going to ruin it. They just put up, I think next door to it, a laundromat. Laundromat's beautiful. It's if those people that are using it and coming in are taking care of it. That's what's going to ruin it. So I know there's nothing you can do about that. You can't say that the clientele people that are coming into that place. That's what we worry about. So, but I do appreciate you coming in because that means a lot. You're right. Like Ms. Davis said, you're not a tenant, you're the owner. So you have more invested. And I know you have a big investment in this. So.
Also, we can't control who comes in, and we're not going to discriminate who comes into our places. But, we've learned from lighting it up, keeping a good security system. Don't let trash sit outside. We're active in, hey, if somebody does their shopping and there's somebody outside like begging or something, hey, sir, you can't stand out here. You gotta keep it moving. We're not shy to say that to somebody. And also, we do need your help. We need the police force's help. It's to stop by the station. If you see somebody outside, keep it as a friendly. We're gonna have freshly brewed coffee. Come drink coffee by us. Let the people know that, hey, whatever happened here before is not gonna happen again. I won't let it happen, but also we need everyone's help, the city's help too. That's another thing too. We do need the city's help and keep it a clean, attractive place to have everyone come in through there.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Baird.
Yeah, just a comment. I'm impressed by what you've said, by the pictures. I'm impressed you're using local people like Mr. Smith, reputable person. That gives me a lot of confidence.
This guy?
Yeah. I played golf with him, so I don't like it. And your accountant and so on. And I can see the investment you've made. You're not going to let this go awry. And contrary a little bit what Mr. Oswald said, it's who's in control of it. You can't control what the people do all the time. But if you see something that isn't right, you can police it up quickly. So I have confidence in it, and I'm glad to have you come to Elyria. If you don't do something there, if you say, no, we aren't going to let them, or, of course, we don't make the decision on the liquor license, but we could ask for the hearing. But I don't think there'd be anything more at hearing than there's been right here today, and I'm satisfied with that, and I'm going to support not having a hearing. So.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody else have any comments? No? Well, we'll do that when the committee comes up. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Through you, Mr. President, I would just recommend that we continue with the reports from officials and then
Yes, we'll come back to it.
Yes.
Yes, that's okay. Chief Whiteley, Elyria Police Department, we're just going to continue on with our remarks from our city officials.
My turn?
Mm-hmm.
Your turn.
I have no report.
Thank you. Elyria Fire Department. Chief Mack, and he's brought Assistant Chief Norris with him.
Yes, good evening. I have brought Assistant Chief Norris with me tonight. The first thing I would like to report is that today we did promote two individuals. We promoted a lieutenant to captain, Mr. Joseph Vargo, and a firefighter to lieutenant, Mr. Frank Rufo. We had a pending vacancy and we had to wait for test results, so congratulations to those two individuals. The other part of the report tonight involves opening discussion on the topic of getting to a master apparatus plan and some strategic planning. As the fire chief, I came to this group very early in my tenure to discuss apparatus purchasing, and we do have one apparatus that will be coming in mid-June. Assistant Chief Norris is the assistant chief that's in charge of apparatus and equipment, so I've brought him to help with this presentation. Everyone has been provided the PowerPoint that we are showing tonight, and we just want to bring this up for discussion, see what the appetite is, and look forward to making a formal referral at a later date. Any questions before I begin?
You're good, Chief. Thank you.
Okay. First and foremost, we want everybody to remember that these are your emergency apparatus. Council makes the approvals, council allows the money to be spent, and it's for the citizens and the emergency response. So the vehicles we're going to be talking about tonight are those vehicles that respond to emergencies, to fires, to rescues, to the call the other day behind the police department. These are the vehicles that respond to the emergencies. So overall, we would like to get a fleet management replacement plan. We feel it's really necessary, and with the Issue 6 funding, and now we're going to have the American Rescue Plan monies also available, we think this is a really necessary discussion at this time. Such a plan would allow predictable budgeting, obviously consistency and reliability. We have a lot of data that tells us what the life cycle of our apparatus are. What we're missing is the other side, which is the plan on how we're going to make the replacements, make the purchases, and as we've learned, it takes quite a while to get these apparatus here. Also, part of this involves our preventative maintenance. The lack of apparatus does cause preventative maintenance to fall behind, so having a plan in place and keeping an adequate inventory is a very positive thing from preventative maintenance. And then, of course, lastly is the safety aspect. Having apparatus available to respond, having preventative maintenance, being able to move apparatus in and out to make sure that they're top-notch in a state of readiness is very important to us. The current inventory, I'm not going to read these, but the engines are the workhorse of our department. They flow the water, they respond on every emergency, electrical emergencies, medical emergencies, and we have 3 frontline and 1 reserve. So as you can see, as far as preventative maintenance, it's a pretty tight task. The aerial, it's getting aged. It's necessary for any rescues, 3+ stories. It also responds with all our extrication equipment and the technical rescue equipment that assisted with the rope rescue the other day. Our command vehicle, that's the officer in charge. He needs to get to the scene and he starts to orchestrate everything for a nice, safe, and successful emergency response. And then we have the non-emergency vehicles, which are our staff and our smaller vehicles. And we've, through the assistance of Director Brubaker and council, we've done a very good job over the last 2 years getting that part of our fleet up. So a little bit of the history. As you can see, we have gone down in just the total number of apparatus that we've had on hand. When we hit 2008, you can see that we had the aerial and the rescue, and we had a reserve aerial. At that point in time, we did not have the aerial that we have now. So that aerial could perform water flow duties, but could not perform extrication. So we would have people jump from one vehicle to the other depending on the call. In 2010, under previous administration, we put the extrication equipment on the new aerial, but that took away the water capability. So that vehicle does have to be married up with an engine in order to function as flowing water. As you can see, we get to 2021, we're down to one reserve engine. And the fact is, each of the apparatus are working harder. We've closed the station, and we really haven't done as good of a job as I would like to see with our apparatus replacement. So I'm going to turn the rest of this over to Assistant Chief Norris. He's just going to get into a little bit more fine tuning as far as the apparatus.
Thank you, Chief.
Good evening, Council. I'm Assistant Chief Norris. Run A shift, and as extra duty, I've inherited the fleet maintenance and apparatus and equipment. It's an honor and obligation with this position to get to do this, so I appreciate what I get to do. As the Chief said, you know, we are caretakers of this apparatus, and I want you to know that we are good stewards of this equipment. If you start with the daily, as we go through this, our operational readiness checks happen every day to every piece of equipment that's emergency responding. The driver of that piece of equipment starts the trucks, runs the pumps, checks the hydraulics, goes through all the equipment. Those vehicles that we have are ready to roll at a moment's notice from the time they come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. They do a very systematic check through a computer system, and everything's cataloged so we know what kind of maintenance is done on them and what kind of readiness they're in. The next step goes a little further. We get into the weekly check. The crew that's assigned to that apparatus, once a week, each piece of equipment is pulled off of that rig. They go through it all, they test it, they get into a little bit deeper set of circumstances. They check the oil, they get into the actual motor operations, the transmission, the pumps. They really go into a thorough check. They pull all the equipment out, they clean all the apparatus, you know, compartments and stuff. So it is maintained very well. The guys really put their heart and soul into this stuff because it does matter for life safety, not only for them, but for the citizens. Going on one step further is our annual process. These are life safety systems that are on these apparatus, so they have to be certified by third-party vendors. So I coordinate with some of the third-party vendors to provide pump testing. They certify our pumps every year to make sure that they're adequate and do what they're supposed to take care of. They check the aerial apparatus, certify that to make sure it's strong, operational. Our ground ladders, the same way. Our hose lines, we test ourselves and we certify them ourselves. So all that equipment is maintained, again, immensely and very meticulously. Finally, our mechanic Barnhouse, he has been a blessing to the department, to be quite honest. It's such a breath of fresh air when we received him and as an assignment to our department. He has saved the city tens of thousands of dollars with his efforts and work, and enough cannot be said about him. He's here and a very dedicated employee, and his ability to maintain and fix these and make these repairs for our equipment is tremendous, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate him. That picture on the left-hand side is the cab of the fire pumper that's going to be delivered here in June. So we purchased this about 12 to 14 months ago, and it will be delivered in June. So that's what the cab looks like right now. So it's a process to build them. Those are fully customized trucks. When you buy a fire pumper, they aren't like you go to the dealership and you pick one off the lot. It doesn't really work that way. You establish exactly what the parameters are that you want, and they build the truck to your specifications. So moving forward, looking at this next slide, as we look, you can see in 2006, we purchased 2 engines. 2009, we purchased an aerial and another fire engine. 2015, 16, essentially back-to-back, we purchased 2 pumpers. 2021, we're going to have delivery of another pumper. I just showed you the picture of the cab. As far back as 1984, our fire department has purchased apparatus in a pair, and we've been forced into buying back-to-back purchases. These apparatus are very expensive and very costly. And when we purchase this way, it causes a problem for us in our maintenance, and it also causes a problem for us in our readiness for our fleet. It's very difficult to maintain some of these older apparatus. For our city, with the volume of calls that we run, we can anticipate about a 12 to 14-year lifespan for these apparatus. As you can see, currently the 06 is a 15-year apparatus, and it really is going to need a lot of money invested into it for a piece of equipment that's really not worth anything at this point. So what we're asking for is an opportunity to sit down with finance, try to set out and lay out a plan to replace these pieces of equipment in an organized fashion. Annually, the inflation rate for these apparatus is 6% a year, so it outrates inflation quite a bit. And when we delay these purchases, and you can see the distance in time between those, that's compounding money, and it costs us more as a city to operate. So we would like to eliminate some of that with the conversation. Also, some of the issues that we have upcoming are that lead times are increasing for these apparatus. When we purchased this fire engine, it was 12 to 14 months out for the construction process to take place. Now, the current quote is 17 to 19 months. Part of that has to do with COVID. Part of it has to do with the increased need. And as the chief had mentioned earlier, the Rescue Act that's coming, these manufacturers are anticipating a greater increase in orders, and so they're expecting a further delay in the process of building these apparatus for us. So we asked to sit down and have some conversation about the opportunities that are currently available to us. There are some things that are in production currently where we can maybe get on the list a little bit earlier and take care of some things. Additionally, we have written a grant, as the chief alluded to, for $1 million for an aerial apparatus. We'd like to have some further conversations about what the opportunities are for that as well. So in conclusion, for us, what we're looking for is just an opportunity to build a plan out that will not only service the community and the firefighters a little better, but also help us budget more effectively, help you budget more effectively, and use our money more wisely. Do you have any questions at this time?
Very good. Thank you, Chief Mack and Assistant Chief Norris, for the presentation. It's much needed to see where we're at with the fire department and the needs that's moving forward. At that time, does any council members have any questions in regards to now with what's been presented here? I think we'll digest this. We'll get back to you and work with the Safety Service Director and the administration to see what we get a path on opportunities that present themselves here. So thank you both. Assistant Safety Service Director Calvert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the members of council, I wanted to provide an update on where we are with the Community Development Corporation. Last Thursday, we had a really great turnout for a virtual info session that we held. We had a lot of great questions. There were several attendees, good representation. And then today, we had a walking tour of downtown. So we had several members of the committees that make up the Community Development Corporation come and view the buildings downtown, survey some of the condition of the buildings, and also look at redevelopment opportunities. So we had a great opportunity to meet some of the building owners, to learn from each other about a lot of the history of downtown Elyria, and get excited about its future. So I just wanted to share with everybody, if you haven't already participated, there's a number of committees that you are welcome to attend. You're welcome to attend the meetings just for informational purposes. And also, if there are members of the general community that would like to attend, we would love to have them aboard with us on this.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Calvert? Law Director Deary.
Through you, Mr. President, I think this is it's very exciting. There's a lot of opportunities and potential here. I was just curious as far as if there's a timeline that's been set as far as incorporation and setting up. So my understanding is going to be a 501c3 status.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. We are looking at summer for being fully incorporated. So we're going through the process of doing that. We have come up with a name. It's the Elyria Community Partnership, and looking at logos. We're working on events, as well as looking at the needs of the city and where we can best fill those gaps with a community development corporation.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Calvert? Thank you, Ms. Calvert. Assistant Safety Service Director Flanders.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Through you, Mr. President, I just wanted to remind residents to make sure that you are checking the City of Elyria's website at cityofelyria.org and following us on social at facebook.com/Elyria, Ohio. The other links are available on our website. There are a lot of things moving as far as events, opportunities to get involved. One that I would like to share coming up this weekend is Access training with Tracy Sprinkle. So it's getting into the second session of that fitness training. That is an offering under Ely Life that we're really excited about. Registration for that is available on elyria.recdesk.com. You know, Director Rader might share a little bit about some of the other programs that we have available, but if you are on that RecDesk site, you will see that we have a flood of programs coming up for the summer. It's really going to be, we think, one of the best summers ever here in the city with some of the offerings that we have. Just want to remind residents in our community to make sure they're checking out those resources. Additionally, I just want to thank those of you that participated in the Engaged Illyrian Week. It was really great to engage with you and connect on some of the different areas we had happening last week. Other than that, just make sure that you're, checking the Chronicle, the Journal, some of the other publications locally. We'll have a lot of ads coming up here soon. Happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Is there any questions for Ms. Flanders at this time? All right. Thank you, Ms. Flanders.
To you, Council President.
Yeah.
We'll try
Mayor?
to make sure we send, I know it's hard to hear. I know I was hard having it.
Right.
We got it, we got it.
Yeah. City Engineer, Mr. Schneider. I've seen you back there, John.
Nothing new to really report, Mr. President. I do have one request, though. I would like council's permission or to add to the referral list the 2021 Emergency Sanitary Storm Sewer Repairs Contract. We'd like to go out for bid for that, and we're actually going through that money faster than we thought this year with all the sewer repairs we're doing, so.
Okay. That's going to go to finance utilities or just utilities?
It's in our budget. It's just we wanted to get it out sooner than later.
Okay. Okay, just utilities. Okay, very good. Any other comments, Mr. Schneider?
Not at this time, Mr. President.
Mr. Oswald?
Through Mr. President. Mr. Snyder, do you have an update on how the designing is going for East Broad Street? Thank you, Mr. President.
The ODOT, we finally have the contract has been signed by all parties to start the process. It took a while also to go through ODOT as far as getting federal authorization. I believe it was early last week that we finally received authorization. So you'll see surveyors out there probably in the next week or two start to collect all the information, as well as Cleveland Street. We have Cleveland Street's in the same boat. So we will be out there shortly getting all this data to complete the design. There will be a handout to all the adjoining property owners on East Broad Street, notifying them of the project and letting them know what they'll see going on out there right now. So we do go ahead and we do put out a small little notice to them.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Schneider? Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Mr. Corzan, wastewater.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to inform council that I have 2 employees retiring from service with the city of Elyria at the end of this month. Gerard Maxwell will be retiring after 20-plus years of service as a service worker on the sewer collection crew. Gerard is the kind of person that you really don't want to let go because he's a very likable guy and he gets along great with everybody. Not only that, but he's extremely skilled at everything that happens on the sewer crew. And he's very reliable. He's always willing to stay over and come in after hours to help the residents when we get these rain events and whatnot with the water in the street and issues in the basements and stuff. So I can't thank him enough for his dedication and his example to others in the department. He's a man of strong faith and has a very strong family commitment. And I can't think of two better qualities for anyone to have. So but he'll be missed very much, and we wish him the best during his retirement. And secondly, Michael Bodie will be retiring at the end of this month after 45 years in public service.
Wow.
Mike has been assistant superintendent in charge of plant operations for the last 9 years, and he came to us with a lot of experience. Prior to coming to Elyria, Mike worked at the North Royalton wastewater treatment plant for 18 years, 2 of those years as superintendent. And he was the wastewater manager at Moreland Hills wastewater treatment plant for 5 years prior to that. He also worked for the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for 12 years, 8 years as an industrial waste inspector, and 4 years in operations and maintenance. Mike has a number of accomplishments as a wastewater course instructor for a number of different entities, and he even created a few courses of his own. So he took over teaching the basic wastewater classes when he came to Elyria, which gave me time to focus on other issues. So my appreciation to him for that. Mike is well known for his stories from places where he's worked in the past. And after 45 years of being in the business, I hope sometime he takes some time and writes a book. I think it'll be a bestseller, at least among us wastewater workers. But I can't thank Mike enough for his service and assistance over the last 9 years. Again, he will be missed, and we wish him all the best during his retirement. I'll take any questions.
Very good. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that information on those 2 individuals. I think that's what it's all about. There's a lot of history and experience there that we're losing, but we thank them for their service, and we wish them the best in their retirement with that. Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Baird?
Yeah, I would echo those comments from Mr. Stewart. My only concern is hopefully there's somebody in line to come up. Now, maybe they aren't going to have the same total knowledge that they have and so on, these 2 people, but hopefully you have that in line.
Through you, Mr. President, yes, sir. We do have a succession plan, and I've been working with Mr. Brubaker on a greater expansion of the succession plan. But we do have people to fill the positions, and it will take some time.
There's always a learning curve, so I understand that. So,
yes, sir.
Good.
Many years of learning curve. Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Corzine. Elyria Parks and Recs, Ms. Reardon.
Thank you, President. Through you, just a quick update. I'll keep it short. Youth soccer and youth volleyball leagues are going to be starting this weekend. As Ren had mentioned, we do have a lot of programs for registration right now: spring tennis, t-ball, all the summer camps. Next week will be swim lessons in Safety Town. East Rec Picnic Pavilion is going to be going up soon. The playground will be installed mid-May, and we are still looking for camp counselors, lifeguards, and swim instructors. So if anybody is looking for a job, lifeguards can start at 15 and a half. Yeah, and we will be doing a lifeguarding class. So we don't have the dates yet, but I would say probably within the next 2 weeks. So if anybody would like to take the class before the summer starts, we will be offering it. Typically, it's the very beginning of June before the pools open. So, and I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Reardon? Ms. Davis?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Reardon, you said Safety Town. You're going to be starting up Safety Town?
Yeah, Safety Town will go for the 3 one-week sessions, and it will still be what is previously the Northwood Middle School, so we're working with Miss Gwen, and she is allowed, we are so excited that we can keep it there, and she's actually looking forward to having us there, so, yeah, well, same kind of setup and all that.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? Thank you. Is Ms. Scott there out, or Ms. Mona? Thank you. Okay, I think that covers about everybody. President's referrals and remonstrances. Item number 1, community development. Item number 2, community development. Item number 3, finance. Item number 4, finance. Item number 5, finance. Item number 6, received and placed on file in the clerk's office. Mr. Tolet.
Thank you, Mr. President. On a fairly regular basis, the mayor and I exchange ideas, and one of the ideas that the mayor's office, the mayor himself sent to me, was for another community had done this, that provided as a comeback to our parks department, let's get away from COVID type, is the city opened up all parks programs for city residents at no charge for an entire summer. I thought that was an outstanding way to, we just heard Ms. Reardon speak about several of the programs that are opening up, and I think that would be a great way to spend some of our dollars. And I'll be referring that to finance and community development. It would be a joint partnership between the mayor's office, city council, and the parks department, all working together to get this through. We would have to draw a line in the sand at some point, things like Lorain County softball, who leases fields, or things like that that we couldn't participate in. But any summer program, whether that's swimming for adults and children, summer camps, seniors programming, would all be free for city residents for the summer.
Excellent.
So I will be referring that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good. It's a good topic for discussion, and I think in its initial onset, I think that's something that we should really heavily look into. Thank you, Mr. Tolet. Petitions and remonstrances from council members.
There are none.
Petitions and remonstrances from the lobby.
We have one, Mr. Dan Martin, in regards to 341, 337 Broad Street project.
Welcome, Mr. Martin. Please state your name and address for the record. Dan, if you could, or Corey can help him with the microphone. And Dan, if you could speak into the mic, that'd be awesome.
I'll do this better. Dan Martin, I live at 12611 Calumet Circle in Strongsville, Ohio. Thank you for letting me have some time here. What a beautiful room. I haven't been in here personally. What I'm going to start, what I'm covering, I'm going to pass around some pictures. You are welcome to look at them or move them along. And thank you for giving me this hour tonight to go through this. I could do that, though, just for the record. I'm kidding. It does comfort me that Corey's here to fix problems for me. That doesn't happen at work very often. You know, I really wanted to keep this project under wraps a bit and let it be something that when we're done, we have this big grand opening and people flip out at how cool everything is. But I realize that the city needs some positivity and some things to come out that are happening. So I wanted to take some time to do that, to let people know that there's some really exciting things happening in town, and not just what I'm doing, but other things. We need that positivity. I am normally not a glass half full. I'm a glass all the way full person. That's how I operate. There's a couple things I'm gonna start with before I get right into the the deck here, but just some general comments that I wanted to lead with. Some quick thoughts. You know, when I look at Elyria, it's just an amazing city, and the downtown is just spectacular. And it reminds me of Back to the Future, Hill Valley. And one of the things I think about all the time when I'm seeing things happen in town that I like and then frankly don't like, seeing a lot of the buildings come down, I think we want to be Hill Valley from Back to the Future 1, not Back to the Future 2. So as we all, you know, work together, we want to be that town that everybody's proud of and looks at the history of the town and really redevelops what we have here, because it is unique and it is a differentiator for us from other communities surrounding us. I think about in Back to the Future, Save the Clock Tower. I mean, I don't know that we have a clock tower. We have a clock, but we have some positive things. I look at as I want to be part of a solution here and the resurgence of the town. I look at things like the billboards that somebody thought was a great idea in town, and those just bother me because I don't know how something that negative could be viewed as a positive. I don't understand that. And I see the sign that says, you know, last one, turn out the lights. I want to turn on the lights. I want to make the city brighter. And I think if we get everybody in that direction, it's going to happen a lot sooner. As I told my wife, I said, I really want to say that we want to turn the lights back on, except I don't want those LED ones that are around some of the buildings. We could do without the LEDs around the buildings. So with that, I'm going to get into an overview of the presentation. So there are the buildings. Those are the buildings that we own. My wife and I purchased. 341 Broad is the bank building, and 337 is the building next to it. We purchased the bank at an auction, and we purchased the building next to it from the land bank. And they were connected in the 70s, so there is a walkway between the two buildings inside of the building, which actually you'll see will come in handy. So this is what I love about these buildings, that these are old pictures of the buildings, and you can see that they pretty much stayed the same. What you can see if you look real close, thanks for the lighting control there, to the very right of the second picture on the right, I believe that is the J.C. Penney building, or what is Shane's. And one of the things that I think is an opportunity in town is that facade still exists under that really bad facade. So there's some buildings in town that have some facades that are actually underneath some things they thought were cool in the 70s and 80s. I would love to, to see those be refurbished at some point. So I'm going to show you guys a few pictures of what the bank looked like. These are really before photos, and I think I took the best of the before. So please understand there's a lot of work to do, but you can see the bank lobby. There is 34-foot ceilings, spectacular, and we found some gems as we've been looking around. The entire floor is actually marble. It's about 1.25 inches thick. They covered it with carpet and glue, and that glue is really, really sticky. There are presidential sayings around the ceiling. There are two old Diebold vaults that are just absolutely beautiful. We actually found some things called vault lights. There's a close-up of the ceiling. But we found some things called vault lights that are these prisms that are in the ceiling that were actually on a walkway. So when you're on the second floor, you'll walk across what is glass and prisms, and below it was to let natural light flow throughout the building. So we plan on restoring those. This is the arch out front. I think people miss it. I think that people have missed walking by this so many times and not realized how beautiful it is. It was built to look like the Arc de Triomphe. And I only know that because my kids had the picture of the Arc de Triomphe on their computer, and I'm like, why do we have our building on the computer? Like, that is not our building. So that is what it looks like from the outside. So hopefully, as we, and I'll jump in here, but when we hopefully take advantage of the facade grant that the city has, I want to get some uplighting, right, to really accent the features of the building. So the question has come up a lot, why Elyria? And there's a lot of great answers. Elyria, A, has an amazing downtown. There's a lot of amazing people that I've met. I've met a lot of you folks. I look forward to meeting everybody. But I mean, I have talked to so many people that are so excited. There's been people in town that when they find out that I own the building, they're like, oh, wait, are you doing something cool with that? So, I mean, there's a general excitement in the population that this is something that they're looking forward to. We're ready for a revitalization here. I see so many positive things, and I know that I've heard that before, but I think the things are being put in place that can actually allow that to happen. And I said, I want to find a town, because we had looked at a bunch of towns. I wanted to find an older building and revitalize it. And I said, I want to find a town that can really benefit from it. And I really think that we found the perfect spot here in Elyria. I really think that Elyria, with this downtown, and that's why I hold it dear in the fact that we can't let it go, have too many more things that are taking out the history of it. There's not many towns that have this kind of downtown. So I really do believe that if we do this right, it could be a destination. All these communities around us will come here to see the things that we've done and to partake in the things that we have. We just have to have more for them to come here for. So plans for 341 Broad. So the first phase, this is the bank building, is an event space. Somewhere you could have a private party, a book club, an anniversary party, a grad party, small weddings, corporate meetings, wine tastings. We're going to try and make the space super cool and get people in there and make sure that people will support this kind of building, this kind of space in Elyria. And phase 2 would be a wine bar, but it would also be available for rentals as well. The building next door, we were just so thrilled to get, and there was a lot of people that helped us with this. One issue we had with the bank building was that it does not have handicap bathrooms, ADA bathrooms. There's only bathrooms in the top and the bottom. And that's not, you know, while we probably could have made it work with historical building code, I really wanted to have ADA bathrooms. So when we found out the buildings were connected in the 70s, we worked hard to acquire the building next door, and they are connected. So that building does have first floor bathrooms that we want to renovate to have be ADA accessible. Also, to try and tie in a little bit to the wine bar and maybe event space, we'd like to have a small sports bar on the first floor. And through some of my earlier conversations when I bought the first building, I was asked if there was any way that we could help the Elyria Sports Hall of Fame. They lost their places to display their things when the high school was built, or redone, I guess. So I met with them, and they asked, they would like to have 4 display cases in this building. And I'm totally with that. If they would still support that once we get done, we'd like to have that space for the Elyria Sports Hall of Fame. On the top 2 floors, they were offices. We would like to change those into apartments. And candidly, those apartments would be for my wife and I and our daughter. That is our plan. So that is the second building. I have issues, and for people that have been with the building know that, because I love collecting things. I think they're cool. We can debate those, but I have acquired a lot of unique furniture over the last decade, knowing that I wanted to do this somewhere. And so I'm just going to show you guys some samples of what I've already got. And this is a small sampling, as people can attest have been in there. But we have some architectural salvage. We have some memorabilia from celebrities. We have some art, and I'm going to go through a couple of those. But these are some of the pieces of furniture that I've already got ready to go. We've got, actually, those are wine racks from, sadly, a wine store that closed in Rocky River about 2 months ago. We actually bought 19 units that look like the one in the middle. I have 8 of the chairs in the middle. Those came from a Oddfellows Lodge in Virginia. The chairs on the bottom, right, looking at that, came from a Masonic temple. And the couch above, I just thought was cool. I don't really know the history on that one, but so there's a lot of things like this in there. I have bought a lot of historic bank pieces, check rating tables from Chicago, check rating tables from Pennsylvania. So you'll see that there's going to be a lot of cool things in here. We have tried to buy selectively, because I won't have money to actually do the building, some eclectic art, and it won't be for everyone, and that was never the intent. I said, I want to have stuff in there that's going to make people talk and think, and we'll rotate it out. And I've actually talked to the Art Council folks and would welcome them displaying things, and if they want to have people sell things in there, I'd be totally open to that. We have bought a few things from David Pavlik and plan on displaying those proudly. These pieces are all from artist named Scott Radke. He's actually grew up in Strongsville and lives in Berea. I found him and he found me because I saw one of his pieces and thought it was so cool. And he's like, you know, I would love to make some things for you if you're going to have this place in Elyria, because it'd be a place I could send people to see my art. And he's somebody that you wouldn't have heard of, but if you Google him, he's got like 70,000 followers on Instagram, and he sold his artwork to the CEO of Nike. He's got a lot of big followers. People love his art. It's unique. My wife said sometimes maybe Halloween only, but these are two of four pieces we bought a few years ago, and it literally was for the intent of this building. These are huge. They are about 8 feet by 5 feet, but there's four of them. They're all musical artists, and these were done by Maximilian Wiedemann, and he did those for, this is going to age me a tad, VH1 Divas, and they were done for that show. And then they used the pictures, these are the actual pieces of art, but they used pictures of these all over buses and billboards in New York City. So that just gives you an idea of where we're headed. Architectural salvage, I see music, I want art. I want this to be a place that people really want to come in and start conversations and enjoy themselves. You know, what do we need? What do we want? What help do we need? We need, you know, I have found, sadly, that it's a little more expensive to rehab an old building than I thought it was going to be. You walk in, you're like, yeah, this is pretty nice, right? But when you change the usage of a building from a bank to assembly, there's things that I did not count on. And one would be, as an example, fire sprinklers, right? So we had two companies come in last week. One of the quotes was $100,000 for sprinklers in the building. So I'm thinking, if you guys will approve this, hoses and sprinklers from my yard up on the ceiling. I'm just kidding. We'll figure it out. So, you know, I plan on being back here and trying to take advantage of the historic rehabilitation grant. I will be back here to try and take advantage of the facade grant. Those are things that will meaningfully help me get this done faster, right? I can only close out one 401k to make this thing work, and I have done that. So, you know, there's things that you guys already have in place. I'm open to any other suggestions, but we're going to try and make this somewhere we're all proud of and that people will come from all over to see. I hope that's the case. So again, you already have incentives set up that I'm going to try and take advantage of. I think that some of the things that you guys have talked about all along, and you know, is people are going to want to feel safe downtown. I think we all know that we need to work on the litter issue, right? We've seen that, and I have gone out and picked it up, and there's been a lot of folks that have gone out, many of you have done that, gone out and cleaned up litter. I think that we have to make it it's a family, it needs to be a family atmosphere. People feel great coming back here. I'm a historian, I love looking up things. You look back and see Elyria, people walking everywhere, cars everywhere, stores everywhere. We can get there. It's going to take work from me and from everybody in my family, but I think that we can do it. I struggle. This is true, and I'm just going to say it. I mean, I look out the top of the 337 where we'd like to have the apartment, and I say, we have a beautiful new library, which was a big plus. We have a city park. We have an art council. We have a hair place. and we have a strip club. And I think that that's going to be something that needs to be addressed. I don't know how, but I know it's been there a long time, but it's a struggle for me to think about bringing people downtown, and that's right in the middle of it. So I said I wouldn't be negative other than that first part, so there you go. But I think that, I think you guys have that, you have that idea. So, I mean, I almost forgot. So I told you I collect things. And so I was like, I saw this, I get a lot of it from charity auctions. Like I'll see a charity auction, I follow them, they have some really cool stuff that you wouldn't normally find. And so there was this pair of shoes, and I told my daughter about them, and she's like, I have 3 daughters and my wife, and I was like, you've lost your mind. No, that's a no. I told my daughter about these, and she's like, game changer. So just as an example, these are Elton John's shoes he wore in a concert. Okay, so they're Christian Louboutin, they've got a bunch of rhinestones on them, but this is the kind of stuff that I want to have in there where people will think it's kind of fun and can, what's the old restaurant that was, that had all the stuff, I forget, went out of business, it's Planet Hollywood, right? But some of them are still around, but so to have things that are cool, I'll call that a piece of art. So have things that are cool that people want to keep coming back, take pictures with, that kind of thing. So, that's all I have. I am totally open to questions.
Well, Dan, first of all, thank you for investing into our community. Thank you and your family. Your passion is just oozing out of you. We want to be there to help you get and maintain these projects and be a part of that and partnering with you. And in the brief conversations that you and I have had, it's just, I'm excited about it. And we want to be a part of, helping you attain all these goals that you have over and through. So thank you again, and I'll open it up to questions. Mr. Oswald.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you very much, because I know the value of what you're doing. Remodeling costs is very expensive, especially when you have old architecture, okay? This is one of the problems that I know that we have in the city of Elyria with our buildings, our gorgeous buildings. They're just so expensive to redo. God bless you for doing this. I think that we're probably going to give you as much support to get this on and running, and you're right. I think it's going to be a place that all walks of people are going to want to come to and see. So I think it's going to be a success. I think we need to do that to help you out. I do have one question though, because I know most of the buildings, and I haven't been on the back side of Depot Street.
Okay.
Does that walk down to a basement, and do you have a plan for possible something down there?
Oh,
thank you.
Oh, yes, I do. And it's spectacular. Well, that's me, Thank you. It is. I want to restore it. And I will tell you that I went out and bought, I didn't put it in here, I bought 2 bank doors from an old bank in Xenia, Ohio that we want to install. I want to make it look like it used to. I'm going to take, so I'm really trying to historically bring it back. I've seen these photos where it has these pillars. There's things we want to do. In the basement, like we had luxury vinyl floor or whatever we were going to put down there. And I pulled up a piece of carpet and I found this little tiny spot of, pink marble on the floors. My wife was like, hey, pretend you did not see that. Cover it back up and let's put the floor down. I'm like, no, we got to see what this is, so we're digging through that. So in the basement, there is a back, there's a back entrance. There used to be, at one time, it was their break room. At one time, it was their, they had tellers down there. So it is actually a really cool space. That's one of the problems with why we needed the building next door, because there's no place in the bank that I don't want to make something that people will use. This is what led me to sprinklers, though, right? To get people down there with less exits and entrances. The basement has an incredible vault, and it was a fallout shelter. And our idea, and we're actually, it was cosmetically done, is we are going to make a 1950s area in the whole basement. Mid-century modern, feel like the era of when you go in a bomb shelter. And it's beautiful down the basement. There are actually 2 vaults in the basement. So totally going to be part of the restoration. So yes, we will absolutely do that.
Davis, did you want to comment?
Yes, through you, and it sounds great, Mr. Martin. My question is, you said it's going to be a sports bar?
These 337. And I said, when you said it sounds great, I knew there was going to be a but in there somewhere. So there we go.
Okay. So have you thought about parking? Have you talked to the city about the parking lot across the street for your patrons?
You were leading me into comments here. Yes. As I am part of the new CDC and enjoying that, I actually brought up parking and people said that we don't need any. And so I think there's a couple things. I am, no one's fault here, but the backside of Depot was sold to an individual. So when I was all excited when we bought the building, right? I'm like, oh, there's plenty of parking back here, right? Except for the back half of Depot is owned by an individual. And I think it was the land bank, and I could be off here, sold it to him years ago. He owns the apartment next to the bank, and they sold him the entire back of Depot. I do not understand how you sell the back of a public street, but it's his. So I have talked to the mayor, Tad, and it's like, it would be delightful to get that back as public parking. Here's my thoughts on general parking. One is I do think people will Uber a bit to come to town. I think if we make the town as safe as it can be, people will park over by the transportation building and walk their way down Broad. I think if people feel good, they'll find a way. Is parking, do I think about it? Yes, I do. Okay.
Through you, Mr. President. I think if people feel good, they'll park across the street and come across the street. There is a parking lot over there that probably need renovation that you probably talk to the city about and see if that can be taken in consideration instead of the backside.
I agree. We toured today and saw is that the Port Authority building?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So yeah, today we did a tour downtown, and that parking lot is owned by the county commissioners, but we've asked them to come off of it and
Right. So it sounds like there's going to be a lot of more conversations here in the now and into the near future about getting your project and other opportunities for other individuals who want to invest into the downtown. So we do have a lot of work ahead of us. Again, Dan, we appreciate you coming up and it's a very encouraging. Mr. Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. President. To you, Dan, thank you so much. This is a breath of fresh air for all of us. For all kinds of reasons. And I think one of the most significant things you said is that you want to make apartments for yourself and your family here. And, we have a lot of people in Elyria that are still very dedicated and supportive of Elyria. We also have a lot of naysayers who are like, oh, it's not going anywhere. It's not like it used to be. And for somebody who doesn't live here that wants to come down here and live downtown, that speaks volumes. And I think that's contagious. And what you're going to do is going to make a big difference. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thanks.
Reports of standing and special committees.
We have considered the matter of a new liquor license request as submitted by Speedy Elyria Inc., DBA Speedy Gas, 824 Middle Avenue, Elyria, and the city does request a hearing.
Mr. Callahan?
Mr. President, after hearing the presentation earlier, it is my opinion, and I have confidence in the new ownership of 824 Middle Avenue, that they're committed to do the right thing. So with the advice, I would ask the law director if I could just amend this on the floor and to see and make the motion. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Through you, Mr. President, and Mr. Callahan, I would ask for a motion to get it on the floor, and then absolutely you can discuss amending this matter, if that's how you all feel this should go.
Mr. Callahan, if you'd like to make the motion.
Yes, I would like to make the motion to put this on the floor for discussion.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. So at this point, I think if in general, it seems like the presentation that was brought forward over and through here, it seems like the city council wants to move forward. Mr. Siri, you have your question?
I do just have a couple of quick follow-up questions in regards to the liquor license. The owner stated you had how many licenses in place? You have 8 presently? Have you ever been fined on any of them?
Through you, Mr. Smith may or may not want that to be answered, or, okay.
Mr. Smith, if you want to come up, they want to come up and just kind of give a quick answer to that.
But the microphone's still on.
One sale, 7 or 8 years ago, no,
A Sunday sale, does that sound correct?
Yeah, it was a Sunday sale. We just got our Sunday license. It was after somebody misplaced the rule. I guess you can't sell till noon. They sold at like 11:30 or something like that.
And you've had these licenses for how long, roughly?
There's some licenses that drag back. Don't forget, we're a group. Some licenses drag back for like 17, 18 years.
Thank you.
Various.
To the law director, when they figure these licenses and whether or not to approve them, not with a hearing, they do all that kind of checking, and that comes into the equation?
Through you, Mr. President, Liquor Control will do a background of the applicant. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So, Mr. Callahan, if you want to make a motion to amend it.
Yes, at this time, I would like to make a motion to amend it. This is my motion. I realize not everybody may agree, but I would like to make the motion to amend it that the city does not request a hearing.
Second.
Second by Ms. Sarah. Is there any further discussion? Question on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Committee Report 2021-4.
Good luck. We wish you good luck.
That's all the committee reports?
Council President?
Yes,
Can I make
ma'am.
it, and before you leave, gentlemen, excuse me, gentlemen.
Attorney Smith?
I was trying to wait for, the chief mentioned, and I appreciate the comments made around making sure police have access to the cameras and whatnot, but just know, as long as we're going to hold you accountable to everything you mentioned in this meeting today, and make sure that place is in an environment that's hosting and allowing for that stuff to go on, because we do have a lot of great investments going on, and we're not going to let this jeopardize it. So I just wanted to make sure I'm saying that publicly, that we're going to hold you accountable to what you said today. So we'll do our best to make sure you're successful. We'll hold you accountable. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Resolutions, first reading.
There's one. Sponsored by Finance. A resolution approving a list submitted by the Safety Service Director for the collection of delinquent, inactive utility accounts and directing the Clerk of Council to certify said accounts to Lorraine County Auditor.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Can we get a second? Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any other discussion? On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2021-10.
Resolution, second reading.
There are none.
Resolutions, third reading.
There are none.
Ordinances, first reading.
Sponsored by Community Development. An ordinance authorizing the placement of 23.13 acres of land in an agricultural district.
Mr. Callahan.
Mr. President, I move that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-64. Sponsored by Community Development and Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application to the State of Ohio Development Services Agency and accept, if offered, the 2021 Community Housing Impact and Preservation CHIP funds and declare emergency.
Mr. Callahan.
Mr. President, I move that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-65. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance amending ordinance number 2021-50, known as the 2021 Permanent Appropriations Ordinance, to change funds in various accounts.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-66. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application for and accept, if offered, the 2021 Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation grant to purchase safety equipment for the Elyria Fire Department.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor? On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-67. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application to the Ohio Emergency Medical Services, a division of Ohio Department of Public Safety, and accept, if offered, the 2021-2022 EMS Priority 1 grant and declare an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-68. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for the purchase of road salt for the 2021-2022 winter season and declare emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Mr. President, hopefully we'll need it for Wednesday. This salt.
Excuse me? Yeah. I was a little slow on that one, Mr. Baird. Thank you.
Ordinance 2021-69. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with R&R Truck Sales, Inc. to purchase a tandem axle cab tractor through the Ohio State Purchasing Program and declare an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-70. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into agreements with Rush Truck Centers and Judco, Inc. to purchase and equip 2 dump trucks for the street department through the State of Ohio Purchasing Program or equivalent program and declare an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-71. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional service agreement with CT Consultants, Inc. for assistance with designing, bidding, and constructing services for the lead service line replacement project Phase 2 and declare an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-72. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance amending ordinance number 2016-6, known as the salary ordinance, including ordinance number 2019-96 to update the existing wage exhibit for certain employees of the city of Elyria.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Baird. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-73. Sponsored by Utility, Safety, Environment, and Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the South Park Trail Phase 2 and parking lot project and declare an emergency.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-74. Sponsored by Utility, Safety, Environment. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the concrete replacement of the pool deck at East Park and declare an emergency.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second by Ms. Davis. Was that Ms. Davis?
Ms.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further
Mrs.
discussion?
Simmons.
Oh, Ms. Simmons, excuse me. Second by Ms. Simmons. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-75. That's all ordinances first reading.
Ordinances second reading.
There are none.
Ordinances third reading.
There are none.
Committee calls.
Community Development requests the presence of the Law Director, Safety Service Director, Building Inspector, and Engineer on 4/26 at 6 p.m. All items referred. Joint CD Finance requests the Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer immediately following the Community Development. Finance requests the Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer on 4/26 immediately following the Joint. All items referred. Utility Safety and Environment requests the Law Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer on 4/21, 6 p.m. All items referred. And Strategic Planning requests the Mayor, Safety Service Director, Auditor, and Solicitor on 4/19, immediately following Council. All items referred.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Have your meeting Wednesday. You usually do.
Miscellaneous and unfinished business. Mr. Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. President, through you. Some others on council may be aware that there was a Cascade Park Advisory Board that we had 4 members on council as members. We were meeting regularly with the Metro Parks along with our Parks Director, Safety Service Director, the President of the Elyria Park Board, particularly when Cascade was going through its proposed renovations. Our last meeting was 2 years ago, actually almost to the day. Obviously, we didn't have one last year. We lost 2 of the members on that committee, and that was Mark Craig and Marcus Madison. And I reached out to the mayor. He reached out to Jim Zimnick about having a meeting sometime in May. There's a lot of issues that we want to talk about with Metro Parks and find out what their plans are, and we have some concerns. So we'd like to put 2 more members on that committee. I've already spoken with Mr. Stewart and Mrs. Keys that were very interested in being a part of that. To the law director, do we need to officially do that, or what's the process?
Yes, I would say that it does need to be formally done. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure how those members were appointed. If that was done, I would need to do some research to see how that was done, if council appointed those members, or what have you. But that's certainly something that we can look at.
Okay. So we'll refer that to the Rules Committee. I guess that's where that would probably go, the rules.
Operating under the assumption that they were appointed by council.
Okay. Very good. We'll get some more information in regards to that. Let's see here. Mayor, I'm glad you came back. I meant to ask you this. I know that we've got a lot going on tonight and everything, but one thing that I meant to ask you that I didn't in your remarks in regards to the human resources and where that's at and the consultant and how that's all kind of flowing, you know, where we're at with that, with responsibilities of the job descriptions that you gave everybody. I appreciate that and those conversations.
For sure. Thank you. Through you, Council President. So our goal is to fill the HR position by June 1. And so we've put the application online. We had a job fair last Saturday where we had some folks who were interested in the position and actually got onto the job fair and shared their interest. We got some more resumes in. So the consultant we brought in is going to help us review and do the interviews for that position, as well as is helping to do some headhunting as well and making sure it's getting out there and we're getting a nice broad search. And in the meantime, she's just pinch hitting, and the director can speak to the day-to-day of what she's doing. But from a high level, you know, she's going to be helping us with that search and interview process. But I'll let the director talk about the detail.
Kevin, if you could weigh on that, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. As the mayor said, our consultant is in a couple days a week, working with Tanya, kind of bridging that gap between an HR director and Tanya. We have a lot of things going on in the HR department. We have a lot of movement with people retiring and job bids and filling those positions. And then when they're not filled internally, going outside the city to find the right person. So she's not only helping support in the search for HR, but support in finding the right people to fill some of these other gaps that we have in service.
Okay. Very good. And Mayor, again, segueing into the job descriptions, we appreciate that over and through. As far as, you know, with these job descriptions, I know they're going to be ever evolving. Can you share more, just briefly, because I know council wanted to inquire about, you know, the more that each individual assistant safety service is going to take on those roles. And if you can expound just a little bit more on that, just so there we have it here.
For sure. Thank you, Council President. So just overall, how the administration is structured, the mayor hires the safety service director, who then puts assistants around them to help assist in managing the city. And so from our roster, we have Dawn Calvert, who you've seen, who is not only overseeing departments and leading staff within the city, but also assisting with small businesses and helping with economic development. You have Ren Flanders, who's leading staff around technology and our website, and also around communications, as well as community outreach, like things like we're doing in Parks and Recreation. And then our most recent addition, Mr. Tim Williams, you know, his focus has really been on our grants that we have outstanding, as well as we have a number of initiatives internally that we're trying to lead. So that's another one of the foci that's there. And then as we look into, which is an interesting topic to bring up now with what's going on nationally around our work around community police relations, you know, I'm really going to be leaning on Mr. Williams to help lead that work in terms of, as we're looking at body cameras and training additions. And we know this week is going to be an interesting week for that conversation. It's going to heat up with the trial of Derek Chauvin. We know that's going to be a hot topic, and we want to make sure we're being proactive. We try to be proactive. So those are some of the areas, but at the end of the day, they're here to support Mr. Brubaker and leading the staff and providing services to the residents.
Okay, I know that was in saying this, there's been some discussions about in regards to their job titles, but also their salaries. In regards to what's being, there's the amounts that's been talked about and their level of information that they bring. Can you expound upon that?
The only thing I can speak to on that is that we use the salary structure that's been there since council passed it years ago. We haven't edited anything, and we haven't had to go before a committee to ask for any raise that's above that. You know, how our salary structure works, there's a steps to it. So the first, the step 0, 1, and 2, and I believe 3, those are steps that are just set by council. And if you want to pay anybody any more than that, then you have to go to a personnel committee to get that pay. So it's in line with what the assistant safety service directors have gotten paid in the past.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Oswald.
Through Mr. President, for you, Mr. Mayor, is there a budget that you have for your staff, or is it kind of just, you know, like each department has a budget? Are you working with the budget, or you don't have a budget?
Yes, so we are working with the budget. There's a mayor's office budget. There's a safety service director budget that both of our staff oversee, and Director Brubaker can speak to his, you know, what he oversees with the safety service. But these would actually be safety service roles and positions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. President, through you. There's certainly been a lot of concern beginning last spring when COVID hit and about potential budget cuts. We've been very fortunate to get CARES Act money and now the American Rescue Plan money. But I have to tell you, I'm concerned about a pretty significant increase in salaries in the mayor's office now as opposed to 2 years ago, and that's a concern for me.
Through you, Council President, I wouldn't say there's been an increase based on if you measure us against previous administrations. There hasn't been an increase. But what I will say is that there's two ways I think of leading the city. One is you sit back and manage what comes to you, and the other is you're active in developing things. And I'm an active mayor that's trying to actively develop the city, and that requires more capacity. If I was sitting back just watching, I wouldn't need a lot of people to help out. But the fact that we're out there actively trying to develop and move the city forward, I can't do it on my own. And so we're trying to surround ourselves with folks that can help move the city forward.
All right. Very good. At this particular time, I know that this has been a long meeting. Does anyone have a call to nature that they need to? Can we take a recess, Law Director? Can we need a motion to get that on the floor?
Move we take a recess.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
Oh, God.
Get overrun with stuff. You're not getting in that bullshit.
I didn't think about it as we were doing it. What was your concern that you said about the mayor's pass? There's a pretty considerable. When he came in, that's what he had. So that salary was already in the budget. So,
Commodore Circle, Elyria.
they're gonna kick everybody out here. They're not big. I think he is in that role. Got some trouble. No, that, he got out of that, he was racking up the Remember
that big of a disconnect, you have headlines in the paper
Real teeth to make it happen, so you need other folks to push it, you know?
Right.
Why did Ren need to get? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Dan, thank you. If everyone can grab their seats, so we're going to go into executive session.
Yeah, I mean, neither was Don was doing you know what I mean? So they're all gonna have different abilities. Ultimately, you know, but it, I mean, it's a good discussion, but
I'm not you over the purpose, brother.
Sure. Accurately and not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
I went back there. He's so sorry to blew you off because I hope he comes down. You know what?
Okay.
I needed to stand
Go to the gas station, train this for
Okay. Okay.
Mr. President, do we have everybody?
Everyone take their seats. Those are
Are you missing some? Mrs. Keys? Oh, no, she is here. Okay.
You just, I guess, hope for the best.
should have come out of recess.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. At this time, I'd like to get a motion to go into executive session for legal matters and litigation and economic development. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Mr.
Moved by
Chairman.
Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sarah. Roll call.
Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Mr. Sierra.
Aye.
Mr. Oswald.
Aye.
Mr. Baird.
Aye.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mr. Tolet.
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mrs. Davis.
Aye.
Mrs. Keys.
Aye.
Mr. Jesse.
Aye.
Mr. Stewart.
Aye.
All ayes.
Everyone, please turn off your mics.
And, well, through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say, it's not anticipated that there will be any councilmatic action requested after executive session. However, we will return, obviously, to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Deary. Mr. Henderson, if you can let us know when